is the Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent Podcast, hosted by me, Kelly Donahue-Piro. This show is for growing insurance agencies looking to maximize their biggest investment, their people. Listen to the top agency performance partners clients share their story on how they boosted their performance by executing a plan. Let's head to the show.
Hey everyone, Kelly Donahue-Piro here. Just want to prep you for this exciting, exuberant, high-energy podcast with Gerber Insurance in Ohio. Gerber has been a great partner to APP. So much energy, so much fun. They showed up with caps and gowns to their graduation for making renewal review calls. Yes, their team calls every renewal once a year and likes doing it, by the way. But here's the thing, they had so many challenges this year. They went from nationwide captive to independent, new systems, new everything. But Emily, the leader, saw the vision of needing to give her team more tools. So they went for it with us, and we couldn't be prouder of their results. You'll learn all about how Emily selected her sidekick, Josh Strange, outside the insurance industry to help her come run the agency. So if your agency's stuck and growing and has a team, this is the podcast for you of some new and innovative ideas on how you might think outside the box. I hear all the time, where do you find these people? How do you get there? You know, I don't understand. I can't find an operations manager. They need 25 years experience. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Listen to this podcast and you be the judge. And just a caveat, we did not pay Emily and Josh to give us a glowing recommendation here. That was all on their own. Take a listen and we'll catch you at the tail end. All right, everyone, so excited to have here on our podcast, the Gerber Agency in Ohio. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but we have Emily Gerber-Poe and Josh Strange here. Their team comes hot off the presses of graduating our renewal review call program. And these guys are just super cool, and they have a lot of great things to say. Emily has been gobbling up agencies in Ohio and has really built a really cool infrastructure. So I'm excited to share a little bit about them today. So Emily, do you want to start introducing yourself?
Sure. Thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate the invitation. And so my name is Emily Gerber-Poe. I am a third generation insurance agent. My grandfather started our agency in 1943. He was an agent for over 40 years. My dad was an agent for over 40 years. I had no intentions of getting into the insurance world. I actually have a music degree. And when I graduated, I decided I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. So I asked Dad, tell me the pros and cons. What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? And that led to all of this. So I joined his agency in 2006 and I purchased his agency from him in 2013. And it's been kind of a wild but awesome ride.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Josh, tell us how you're here. What's your role? How are you a part of the Gerber Agency?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having us. We're happy to be a part of this. My name is Josh Strange. My title is Vice President of Operations, and I oversee our operational and business interests at all of our locations here in Ohio. I've been with the agency for about 14 or 15 months now, consulted with Emily before that, and had the opportunity a little over a year ago to jump on board full time, and just love being a part of it. Love the family aspect, and Emily's been a great friend for a lot of years. So when I had the opportunity to kind of join forces with her and help her grow the business, it was a pure joy, and love being a part of it.
So Emily, my first question to you is, having a VP of operations is something a lot of agencies don't get to. Either maybe they don't know how it would work, and if I'm correct, Josh, you were not from the insurance industry.
That's right. I have a marketing background, communications background, and then really operational management before that. So I really love understanding the why behind things and growing businesses. It's always been a passion of mine, and how to communicate better. So for years, Emily and I would talk business, and I'd share ideas with her and vice versa. But I definitely had no insurance background, had sales background, but no insurance background, and really kind of came at this out of nowhere. So, yeah.
And I have to say, from us working with Josh has been super impressive. So really, really great opportunity. So Emily, walk us through. You woke up one morning and you're like, I think we need a VP of operations, not from the insurance space. How does that all work?
So It really came through conversation. So Josh and his wife and my husband and I have been really good friends for over a decade. And so, our families go on vacation together, we talk. And so we'd always spitball ideas with each other. And I finally got to a point where in my career that I had to make a decision. I'm either going to sit in this space forever, which is not my heartbeat. I'm very growth and vision minded, or I can invest into my business and hire to my weaknesses. So Josh, being the polymath that he is, he may disagree, but he's really great at a lot of things. And the areas that I needed help with were processes and systems. And as we grew very quickly with acquisitions, that happens. And so I needed help from the processes and system side. I'm not a detailed person. Again, I'm very high vision with very much an entrepreneurial spirit, tongue twister. But he has really helped. I knew that he would be a huge asset. So especially with all of his marketing, his communications, his processes. And so, it's taken some time for me to get used to having someone that can come to me with ideas or something to say, hey, I really think that we need to make a change in this space. And number one, I'm not alone anymore to say, this is a huge decision and this is all on my shoulders. But to also have someone to say, tell me why you guys do it this way. Tell me why you feel so passionately about this. And it's not that he's pushing back, but it really is a good team mentality because he's incredible in this area. I'm incredible in this area. And we really can complement each other. And so basically it was, hey, I need help. And there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, as a leader to say, I can't do all of this forever. And I need someone who's really smart in this area to come alongside of me and help me through this. And that's really, he's been able to really help fill a huge void that I had to also help us propel us forward too.
So Josh, you wake up one day, you get the phone call from Emily, like, what do you think about insurance? And I'm certain as a little boy, you grew up thinking, gosh, I just hope I can become an insurance nerd one day, right?
Yeah.
So tell us how on your end all that went.
Yeah, definitely never saw myself in this role in particular. I'd be lying if I didn't say, partnering with someone like Emily, a 3 on the Enneagram, very high vision. I'm a 2. So I really love supporting people. I always have found myself in positions where I'm really able to, in some ways, pour gasoline on a fire, so to speak, and really try to look at the business holistically and say, here are some leaks, maybe here are some things that you're blind to. But when she gave me the call and said, hey, I'd love for you to actually work for the agency, not just consult, I was like, okay, did not see that coming necessarily at the timing it did, but was super excited to jump on board. And, it's been a whirlwind. The beautiful part about being an entrepreneur and being in business is every day's a new day. It's a new set of challenges. Managing and leading people and really, especially in this last year during the pandemic, what we thought was our strategy for the year and what we were going to do to propel the business forward completely changed back in February, March of last year, like it did for all of us. And so I can tell you, being in the industry, the insurance industry has been a blessing. It's been super fun, lots of new challenges. And I feel like we've never been in a better time in history, no matter what the business is, to really get creative and think back, outside the box and get back to like a grassroots approach of, anything worth doing is worth doing well. And so that's really been our focus this last year is how can we take what 3 generations have done and built and really figure out how to take it to the next level to make sure we're here for another 3. So.
Well, and so there is a saying in insurance about the 3rd generation of insurance agencies. I don't know if you've heard it, Emily, where it's like,
no, tell me.
The feeling is the 3rd one is the one that screws it up, right? Like, and I'm not saying that about you guys at all, by the way.
For sure.
I think you're breaking the mold here. So, grandpa goes very entrepreneurial, grows this business. The second one gets to come along to an already ball that's moving. And then the 3rd one comes along and there's all this pressure of this family legacy.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So as you're kind of embarking on the 3rd generation, tell us, where do you see this insurance space going? I mean, put your hitch on it officially.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
what got you excited? Where do you see it going? What keeps you kind of focused on growth when, as you know, many people think, oh, personal lines is commodities and there's not going to be as much opportunity there. So I'd like to hear your vision.
Yeah, for sure. So there's definitely that pressure. There's always been that pressure. The crazy thing was that pressure was never from my dad. It was never from my grandpa. The pressure is my own, Josh already alluded to it, my own Enneagram 3 of I can't fail, I have to be successful, but also giving myself grace through the process of who am I at my core, and what do I want to do, and where do I want this to go? And so, really in the insurance business, in my opinion, there are two paths. You can grow it until you just live off renewals, or you can really be high vision and really truly chase after growth. And there's been a lot of things that have kind of put me in this position where I am now. My dad was very adamant that he was not going to and he's the kindest man I've ever met, and a phenomenal businessman, but he was not going to let me join the agency and just pay me a paycheck. I remember him having a very hard conversation with me to say, you're a female in a male dominated industry, and you're also a third generation agent, because he knew the same thing. If I hand you a paycheck, it's not teaching you to do anything. And because at some point I'm going to be gone. And so he really invested in sales with me. He mentored me. He pushed me forward. And I think for me, that was a lot of my motivation to say, I really can do this. And I can be really good at this. I can make it my own. Once it is my own, and it was in 2013, I can decide what I want to do with this. And so I just took a lot of pride in that, instead of the pressure of the family name and the family business, to say, no, I take pride in it, and I'm going to kind of make it my own and propel it forward. So where do we see this going? Growth. I never want to be okay. If I sit here and say, we've arrived, we've done it, we're great. I definitely would have ever called you when Josh said, Emily, we've got to talk about retention. We've got to talk about, so, that was another reason that we reached out to you to say, no, we want to be better. We want to grow. I don't want to fall into this third generation rut where it's like, oh, we've arrived, we're here. So I think growth, I think pushing forward and finding, okay, where can we be better? How can we be better? How can we partner with people to help us be better? So I think that's kind of the future for us, and how we're moving forward and not staying status quo.
Sure. Josh, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah, everything she said. And I think, for me, from the outside coming in with fresh eyeballs, I really quickly early on, I learned there's almost this underlying toe in the insurance industry that people leave, people come, people leave, people come. And as long as we're putting more in than the people that left, we're fine. And I really began to challenge that thought early on, because I thought our customers, our clients really deserve better than that. If we really care about them, then we really care when they leave. And then really trying to dig into this idea of, why do people leave? And I feel like, when we started the program back with you in September, we really began to touch on that and help our staff move from this mindset of growth versus fixed. And we're going to be focused on growing, but the way we focus on growing is by shutting that back door. We can talk about sales till we're blue in the face, but when the back door is wide open, because we don't care who comes or goes, you've got a real problem, and it's not sustainable. So, I think the thing that's encouraged me the most over this last 6 months to a year since I've been here is just that buy-in and that commitment from Emily and the rest of our staff. Emily leading the organization, saying, no, the past says, just pour more sales into the funnel and we'll be fine, and don't worry about the people that left. And us really beginning to put that focus on the back door. We're seeing a lot of good returns on that, not just in the retention numbers themselves, but in the staff actually going, you know what, it feels good to care about people at this level again. It feels good to take my job so seriously again, where it's not just I'm an order taker, but I'm really focused on the quality of the work we're doing and really understanding why a customer leaves, and then ultimately fighting to make sure that they don't. So
Sure. So one of the things that you didn't mention is in all of this, during a pandemic, you guys also moved from being nationwide captive to independent.
Right.
Maybe you want to forget about it.
Yes. Too much stress to remember.
Maybe that was it. But you did make that transition through all of it in the interim as well. And so tell us a little bit about, like, what did you learn about being an independent? Because I think the grass is always greener, right? When you're a captive,
Sure.
you're like, you have all these options. And when you're an independent, you're like, but your life is so simple over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of the things that, first and foremost, it was a lot on my staff. For our account managers to learn new companies, new product, new systems, new really everything. At the time, we're still doing the retention program. It all kind of happened simultaneously. But the thing that I think I was really excited about it. I love change. I'm very unicorn in that way. I thrive in change, and I thrive in a constant change environment. And so I was really excited about it. But what I also found in the independent world is no matter what I thought, from a comparative rater to an agency management system, which we had the agency management system in place for over 2 years, but all of these thoughts kind of came crashing down of everything we thought was going to happen or how it was going to happen. It was like, whoa, this is not actually what we thought. And so kind of being able to take a step back and say, and I'm a silver lining person. So, okay, let's find the good. What is going really well? Let's find the good. Let's play on that. What is horrible? What is stressing our staff out? And how can we change it? And then that's kind of Josh's expertise. And so I would say now that I feel like we're grounded, we're rooted, we're okay. We've gotten through the majority of the process. Everything is great. And I actually really enjoy being an independent because we really do have more for our customers and our clients. And we have better, not better, but we have a larger array of products and companies that there's not many people ever that we have to turn away. We really can pretty much write anything that walks through the door. And I love that. I love being able to solve problems, and we can solve problems for all of our clients. And so it definitely was a challenge. Definitely the thought of the grass being greener on the other side. There's pros and cons. I think there's things that we miss the way that it was. It's definitely more expensive on our bottom line to be independent. Right. But we're transitioned. We're finally through it, and we recognize that there might be some things that we miss on the other side. But I really truly believe that this was meant to be for us, and I really truly believe that this will be the best opportunity and growth for us going independent as well for our clients.
Sure. Josh, any thoughts?
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. It was definitely challenging. I think we all had this idea to a certain degree of, we joked about it in the past, Kelly, Independence Day 7/1 was coming. And,
right.
There's going to be a fireworks show, and everything was just going to be wonderful. And we'll always bleed blue. We love Nationwide. But it was definitely a challenging year. Emily does a great job at keeping us focused on the silver lining. And again, the challenges that we've been through, I think, have strengthened us in a way, and our staff. It's, that's been the hardest part. I feel like both Emily and I feel like we can get through anything. It's really that challenge in leadership of helping people go from where they're at to where we know they need to be. And so much change so quickly was very, very difficult on our staff. And I think, a big part and a big win for us in that third quarter of last year into the fourth quarter was really having the program to kind of focus us and get us all on the same team again. Like, yes, we're adding all of these carriers, but here's going to be the one thing that we're all going to do together. We're all going to work through together. We're going to focus on retention. And it was really a game changer. So as tough as the year was, there was so much good that came.
All right. I'm just going to say this. There's one thing that has irritated me about insurance agencies since I was 18. Every place I've ever been, every place I ever go, I hear the same thing. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. And I'm thinking to myself, gosh, it's been 18 years, 19, 20 years, because no one really knows my real age, as you guys know. But since I was 18, no one has been able to figure out busy. And I'm going to call out the 3 reasons I feel this way. 1, I think busy is BS. We shouldn't be busy. We should be productive. 2, I think busy is the armor many team members use against doing things that are uncomfortable or that they forget doing, because management systems don't have good project management or ideas on that. It's kind of do the task and move on. And so busy becomes sort of a universal way to say, oh, I got busy, I'm sorry, I didn't do it. And you can't get mad at them for that, right? And finally, the other thing I feel about the word busy is it's not a plan, right? So we can be so busy, but we're treading water and not getting ahead. And that doesn't feel so good. So what we did and what we're doing is we're totally remodeling our Apex time management program. What that means is that we have both recorded in our online school a step-by-step guide for you to walk your team through several weeks of time management training. Email inboxes, first call resolution, how to help the least desirable customers and be efficient with it. How are we going to manage our tasks in our management system? Getting rid of the notebooks, all of those things. So what we really need to be doing is giving our team tools to make that happen. So I want you to watch April 15th, we'll be launching this new course. Because it's part of our Apex series, we almost never sell it on its own. But because I want to make sure everybody gets access to this training, you have different options. 1, it'll be available for purchase outright in our online school for 2 weeks only. That's right, 2 weeks. April 15th till the end of April. You can buy it, have it forever and ever and ever, and put all of your team through it at your leisure. 2, you can buy a subscription to our online school where you'll have that in our retention call, our sales training, how to reduce remarketing, converting inbound calls into opportunity. It's all in there. And every quarter we're adding new stuff in. So you just have on-demand training for your team because they're your biggest expense. Why not give them something that's going to work? Or 3, you get the Cadillac. You get to work directly with me on managing your team for time management. So whatever you'd like, take a look. April 15th is the big launch date. We'd hate for you to miss the launch party. Put that in your calendar. Watch social media, watch your email. We'll be sure to update you, but we'd hate to see you miss it. Think about the experience Emily and Josh have had just with the renewal review calls. Imagine you layer in time management on that. Woo-wee! I think you're gonna find some more sales in your book. Watch for it, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us right now. We're happy to fill you in. So I know you mentioned Enneagram. I'm a 3 also, Emily. So
Yay.
Don't you think everyone should just be like your Enneagram?
Right?
I guess that's why they're all out there so you can understand different people. But
Yeah.
did you do the Enneagram with your whole team?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm very passionate about hiring to personality rather than hiring to skill, because what I found in the past is the best fit for our team was the best personality fit. It wasn't necessarily that they could type quickly or that they could learn the system quickly, or because, anybody on my team can teach product, we can teach systems, we can teach really anything that we do. We can teach sales, but I can't teach you to be kind. I can't teach you to be nice. In sales, I can't teach you to be forthright. I can't, in customer service, I can't teach you to be patient. So it's very important to me when the light bulb kind of went off one day of like, why are these people so good at their job and these people aren't? Well, they're in the wrong job. They're not in the right position. And so, yeah, it's been very eye-opening and really culture changing for us too, to hire for personality in the Enneagram.
So everybody that I've ever met that knows you, Emily, has referenced Emily going on the road, different nationwide events with dad and the family. And I hear that you guys had a very unique family trait at different nationwide events where you might be using your singing voice across the country as, nationwide's opening act sometimes. How did that all work? Because if literally I hear anybody, Emily, I remember her and her dad singing up a storm. So I guess when you were little, you'd go to nationwide events. Is that right?
That's right. So when dad would when he would win the award trips for presidents or conference of champions with nationwide, we'd go as a family. And yeah, sometimes there were some random times that I'd get up on a stage or sing a little tune or something like that. Yeah.
So, well, apparently your voice is well known. So, I think, if not insurance, maybe rock star.
Maybe I'll have it. Yeah. If this doesn't pan out for me, which I always tell people, I don't have a plan B. This is my A through Z plan. So, but if God forbid, I guess we could try and figure something out in the music world.
So Ohio agents, if you are looking to be acquired, you got to call Emily. So they've got a lot of good stuff going on over there.
Yeah.
So let's rewind then. So you guys reached out to us and I was like, hey, you want to solve your retention problem? We're going to call every client once a year. That's how we're going to fix it. And then people are just like,
oh gosh.
How exactly does that work? Aren't we poking the sleeping bear? And like, I'm not so sure that that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So walk us through a little bit, like when we were kind of talking about what this would look like, what your feelings and thoughts were, because you guys were crazy enough to take the plunge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was a conversation, as Josh learned the insurance world, and he asked a lot of questions up front of, okay, so why do we do this? And how are we fixing our retention problem? And it wasn't that it was really a problem, but if you consider COVID, if you consider the scale that we've grown, if there's a natural loss of 10%, if your retention, even if your retention's 90%, you're naturally losing 10%. So not only do you have to fill that funnel, but then to grow, you've got to grow on top of that. And so really communicating that to our staff and helping them to understand the larger we grow, the more that is, the more that gap is, and the more sales we have to pour in. And so exactly to what Josh had said earlier, he was like, Emily, we really need to focus on our retention and get us rooted in that, and then we can move on. And so instead of reinventing the wheel, we called you and said, you're great at this. We've heard great, and we did. There's a lot of agents that I'm friends with that have talked about you and that have used your programs, and it came highly recommended. And so when you share, this is kind of how this works. This is what we're doing. Yeah. The fear of, oh my, like, how in the world are we gonna, the fear of telling our staff, this is what your new role is. This is your whole job title kind of is changing. And we knew we needed help, and we knew that we didn't have the time or the expertise to make a program and implement it. And we were really excited. We took the plunge, but really happily. We were happy to say, Kelly, help us. We know we need help, and we know you can help us.
So Josh, what were your thoughts in telling the team? Because this is one of the biggest things that we always get is like, who tells the team that they're going to call everybody once a year? That you.
Right.
So Josh, you're thinking through this, and because that's kind of your role at the agency, right? Like,
yeah.
How is this going to impact the team? How are we going to get them to hold on through it? What were your
thoughts? My initial thought was, we're paying Kelly, she can tell them. And I figured that was.
I remember that meeting. It was like when the first back from the pandemic.
Like you're going to tell them, right? It was challenging, knowing, even leading up to the retention program as an agency, we'd already made so many changes and put a lot of, more structure in place that we really needed in order to allow us to grow. We had a lot of tough lessons that we learned through other acquisitions that didn't go the way we wanted them to go. We had a lot of learning that took place. And so in order to get us in a better place to really be one company spread out across the state of Ohio, and really keep that family feel, we made a lot of changes. So flash forward to, all right, we need to focus on retention. The biggest fear was, man, we've already made so many changes and this is just one more thing. But, I think the thing that really set us apart was really relying heavily on your expertise and really trusting the system, and really buying in ourselves as leaders, and them seeing it. This wasn't just something that we paid for a CE and you guys all got to take this course and then, we move on. Like, we've got work to do. We really all bought in. We talked about it daily, and we still do. And it's, I believe you talk what you care, you talk about what you care about. And so for the last 6 months, all we've talked about is retention. every single day. That's what we're talking about. And it's through the lens of our customers. It's through the lens of them feeling cared for and seen. But the biggest challenge was definitely that ask of, hey, we've done all of these other changes, and here's one more thing. I think the biggest obstacle for them to overcome was this idea of, I don't have time. Um, and the focus on time management has been a huge part of this. We have staff that have been here for a really long time, and they do amazing work. They're incredible. Emily says all the time, I'll put my staff up against anyone's, and she truly believes that. We have a great staff, so it was helping all of them learn. Okay, here's all of these things we've done for years. Some of them are good things, but they're not great things, and they're not leading to us growing our bottom line. They're not leading towards us focusing on helping the customer necessarily. They're just things that we've done forever. So time management, helping them find the time, and then just the confidence, that lack of confidence of, everything up until that point. And a lot of what we do and a lot of what's done in the insurance industry is so reactional. Mm-hmm. Everything is, I've got memos coming from this company, my manager's dropping this task on my desk to call this customer. We've got so many forces coming at us to dictate what our schedule looks like. And for us to shift that mindset and say, no, we're going to take back control over our agency and say, this is how we're going to, work and interact with our customers, was a challenge. But I will tell you, I don't think our staff would want to do it any other way again, even though we're still working through some of the kinks and the growing pains of, you still have those customers that I will say high maintenance. We, for the most part, are servicing our book in a way that's much more healthy now. And so the time management piece and really the confidence that we've seen them build in themselves and believe in themselves, and to have those conversations and asking for the upsell and the cross sell and asking for that other personal line has been huge. So challenge, yes, but they have definitely hit it out of the park when it comes to accepting that challenge.
No doubt. And so, I remember we always said like the first 60 days, right? The first 60 days are the worst. They're the worst of anything. Mm-hmm. And, their team was troopers, right? They pulled through it. Some days were easier than others. There was some back and forth, but I always say, I think that they learned so much about what they can achieve during those 60 days. It's like, I really could do it. And right. That to me is like the first light bulb moment that goes off in the team is like, I think we can, because the person attracted to that account manager job is typically not the person that is the visionary like Emily, right? Like you could see 6 months and be like, I got this. They right. Can see a little bit more in front of their face. So if you were to give advice to any other agency going through that first 60 days in retrospect, what would you tell them?
I would say what really helped us to be successful is we really paid a lot of attention to the culture, the chitter chatter, the communication, the frustration, between myself and Josh and our agency manager, Dana. We made sure that they knew we're here. We support you. We know that this is hard. We know that this is not easy. We know that this is another change, but just like you talk about raising your hand, let us know, how can we help? Also our manager in Lima, making sure as a leadership team, we were all on board to say, this is the most important thing that we can do right now is to communicate, is to support, is to make sure that they know, so that, because those first 60 days were hard, exactly what you just talked about and exactly what Josh just talked about. It's like this fear of, this is right in front of me and I can't do all of this. And this is a new thing I'm trying to learn. But once it started to happen and once they knew, okay, I don't have to freak out. I've got the support of the people above me. And once we got to that 60 days, for us to have the feel of the heartbeat of what was happening behind the scenes, instead of being like, hey, this is your new job and this is your new role and you've got to do it. Good luck. Making sure that, and it was a lot of time. It was a lot of time on us too. So we kind of had to stop some of the things that we were doing in our roles to make sure, okay, this has to be top priority for us if we're expecting it to be for them too. So that would be my number one that I think helped it to be so successful for us. We made sure that we were kind of in the weeds with them.
How about you, Josh? Any thoughts?
Yeah, exactly what she said. You got to buy in. I mean, you just have to buy into it. You get this, there is no magic wand here. You got to be willing to do the work. And so, when you're making the investment to hire a consultant, to a certain degree, there's that feeling like, well, I'm hiring this, so we're good. We can just let Kelly handle it. Emily and I really had the mindset early on to say, this isn't just for now. We're building something for the future. And we wanted to make sure that they understood this isn't some program we're doing for 6 months. This is a lifestyle change for our company. We've been working our muscles in different ways for the last several years. What got us here, we can identify, definitely won't get us where we're going. We're an independent agency now. So we don't, I had a mentor one time, this is years ago, tell me, volume covers a multitude of sins. When the funnel is just completely full and you've got leads coming at you from everywhere, you don't worry about the back door. And then all of a sudden, pandemic hits, things slow down, we go independent. It exposes things. One of the things you said that was so funny to us, I remember you said this program throws things up at you. I forget the exact word but used, but it exposes things, and it does. Anytime you commit yourself to a process or counseling or anything you're working through in life, it exposes things that you didn't know were there. And we certainly have those things too, that this program, it wasn't just retention. It's like, oh wait, we don't know that metric at all, and we should. And it's exposed a lot of good things. But I think the number one piece of advice I would give is just commit yourself. There is no magic wand here. You can't just throw good money at things and expect things to change without putting in the work. And so just be committed to the process and have the right people in place to make sure you can. A big part of this program being so successful, not only our staff being bought in, but Emily just alluded to Dana, our agency manager. Every single day, she's looking at every single policy that's up for renewal. She's looking at the carrier. She's looking at very, very detailed at a policy level. And so that was one of the bigger things that made such a huge impact on our business, because it's really easy to say we're just so big. We can't look at customers at that type of a level. Well, now we look at our book every policy at a time. And it's really revolutionized the way we see our business. So be committed, go all in. The consulting is beautiful. Kelly is hands down, this free plug, probably the best trainer we've ever experienced, and I've ever experienced in any industry. I remember
Your gift card in the mail.
Thank you. Absolutely. Aaron told us that as well. He's like, hands down, she's the best trainer. She can train anything to anyone. And it's true. Kelly is an incredible trainer. She's an incredible resource in the insurance industry. But if you're not committed to growth, and if you're not really committed to figuring this out, then you're just going to waste your time. Commit yourself, go all in. It's definitely worth the pain.
Well, thank you very much for that. I would say can't train people who don't want to be trained, and your team came willing. And so that was a big help. So, we got through the first 2 months, very difficult. And then I would say like the sun starts coming out. It's like,
right.
Oh, wait a second here. We're 100% proactive. We're ahead of schedule. And this is sort of like my favorite point, because we start to see the team kind of blossom into like little flowers, right? Like, wait a second. I don't have to reshop that person when they're mad about rate.
Right.
Or, you know what? I can get that person to increase their auto liability limits just by asking. And like all these little like light bulbs start going off in their heads. And so if you could kind of talk about that second phase, which is way more fun than the first phase,
sure.
Right? And just some of the very cool conversations that start having about, hey, are we over servicing maybe some accounts, under servicing some, where did you kind of see your team develop most through that process?
I would say they all started kind of finding their strengths, their own strengths. And it was really neat for me and the rest of our leadership team to start seeing what the numbers looked like coming in, to say, oh, this person is really, really good and really fluid at making sure the client understands they're very underinsured. And so we start seeing their numbers change of, hey, I increased liability for 20 clients in a week. And not because that's my job, but because I care that much and I actually really do care about these clients and I really do want to educate them. So kind of the role of, hey, this is your job now has kind of transitioned into, yeah, I really want to make sure that they're insured properly, that they're covered properly. So seeing some of that. I would also say that moving into, it's allowed them to be a little more competitive, which, for some of them with a little more of a peaceful, I'm not competitive, they'll even say that out of their mouth. I'm not driven by sales or commissions or anything like that. All of a sudden it's like, well, so-and-so did so many more calls or so many more upsells, or so that was kind of neat. And then the last thing is the things that this is uncovering in our book of business, that our clients really do need us. They need us to explain to them what coverages are. They need us to make sure that we are the insurance professional and we are consulting with them and we are educating them. We are not this go online and purchase a policy and then you have an accident and then it's not enough and then you call us. It's like, let's make sure that we're being all things to all people, because that's the profession that we're in. You expect it from a financial advisor, you expect it from a dentist, you expect it from your child's pediatrician. That is who we are for our clients. And so empowering them to kind of go forward and say, no, I'm going to educate you. I'm going to make sure. And so I think it's just given them the confidence. I think moving forward of them saying, no, this really is the best thing for you. This company, because of the product, this coverage, because of what it can do for you. It's uncovered things like people's houses that they build additions on, and they never called us to let us know, and we can uncover that. Someone has a teenage driver in their household and they need a lot more liability. Someone put a pool in and they need an umbrella policy. Whatever that looks like, it's allowing us to do the best thing by our clients, and it's empowering those staff to say, I'm doing it. This doesn't have to be Emily calling and doing it. Doesn't have to be Josh, doesn't have to be Brandon, doesn't have to be any of the leadership team or the people managing the locations. It's me. I'm that important that they expect that from me. So I think it's just given them such great confidence kind of in that second phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think phase two, when, we talked about this whole program centered around moving from being reactionary to being proactive. When we moved into kind of phase two and really got the stigma of sales out of the way, and you really put a huge focus on education, I think that was huge. I mean, the benefit to being proactive as well versus reactive is, instead of it creates a lot more wins to share as a staff. And it definitely helped reshape that in our culture, where look at all these great things that we have to share. Talk to this customer, and all of these great things, versus so-and-so called in and requested their deck pages. And now we're, following the protocol to try to make sure we keep that customer. Those things are still happening, but now we have all of these built-in successes and wins to talk about on a weekly basis. And I think once we started building that confidence in each of them, and having those wins to share, it just made the world a difference for everyone to feel like, oh, wait, this is working. Like, not only do I have time for it, but look at the success of what's happening. So
I know it is. It's just, I just think that that's just the miraculous part of like, hey, you know what? I can have a conversation about rate, because I always see like before renewal review calls, people are always just they're a little shy. They're like, people only care about rate. I'm very price sensitive. And I think that's because that's who calls in, right? Your calls into an agency tend to be transactions. And we said they're spicy, right? They get their bill in the mail, they're spicy. You're always on this defensive mode. And for the right personality type, like they're peacekeepers, right? So we want to keep the peace. So we're going to help them. And as much as we can't talk to them about raising their liability limits because they're mad about rate. And it keeps them in this little kind of small box. But then we sort of open the box a little for them. And it's like, hey, wait a second here. There's all these other customers out here that we don't get to play with. And those customers are kind of fun.
Right.
They're not our frequent flyers that are constantly
exactly.
EFT date. Like they're just a different ball of wax. And I just love, I don't know, to me, the biggest joy I get out of it is empowering those people to see like, okay, we're above the clouds. Now it's kind of like when you're taking off on an airplane and you get above the clouds, like the sun's still here.
Right.
Because we do see a fair amount of burnout on the account managers, and they can kind of get to a dark place sometimes. So, well, I want to say thank you guys for joining us on the podcast today. Is there any final parting words you give any agencies out there as far as people considering the renewal review call program? I know we have a big graduation tomorrow, so we haven't completed it yet, but we're hours away.
Yep. I would echo what Josh said about you, Kelly. You are hands down the best that we have worked with in a consulting realm. You are put together, you are organized. When you, like Josh said, when you hire a consultant, typically it's going to be this thing where it's like, okay, it's yours now because I don't have time to deal with it. That's why I'm hiring you. Well, in this case, you do a great job of engaging us to make sure we know and we have a heartbeat on what's happening, but also to make sure we understand if this is going to work the way that it's supposed to, and it can, and it will, then everybody has to be on board. And this is a forever thing. This isn't a 6 months and done. This is a forever thing. So I would encourage any agents that are considering doing something like this, feel free to reach out to myself or to Josh if you have any other questions. I mean, I could not recommend Kelly and her team and her program any higher. We actually are going to continue working with Kelly, just in a different facet. We obviously are done with this program, but it's important to us to hire to our weaknesses and to make sure that we're doing the best that we can. And her team is awesome. She has so much that she has to offer in the specialty and the niche of insurance, that it has been very changing, very life-changing for our business doing this program. And it was very necessary. Last little thing, you talked about the burnout of AMs. I have staff at 2 of my different locations, one that's been here almost 30 years and one that's been here almost 38 years. Whoa. So I was 1 year old when my dad hired one of our staff, and you never want to see a staff person get to a point where they're like, oh, I just, I show up because this is what I know how to do. Or you want to make sure that they feel empowered because they really are that good. And these staff that we have really are that good. And it was almost kind of a fresh reset for us. And this program, even though it was hard in the beginning because it was so much change, it has been a fresh reset, especially for those people too, to say, I really am freaking good at this. I really can do this. And it's kind of given them a new spark too. So I would just say not just changing for the bottom line and the retention and moving forward, but also for a fresh reset for the staff too, to make sure that they know that they're empowered and they're really great. They're really good at it and they can do it.
And some of those people have some of the highest numbers every week.
Yes,
and
they do.
Fight for them. They're like, listen, I call the guy and I increase it 8 times. It's just like, no big deal now.
No big deal. Right.
Look at the numbers like, what's your secret? I just tell them that we're doing it.
I'm just that good.
Where'd you come from?
I know, it's true. It was shocking to us too. And it's been a great blessing. It's been really great to see.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh, I have to tell you, there was one meeting that we had that you were like, I'm going to put Kelly on the spot now. I'm like,
yeah.
I think you made me like get out. Like Kelly, I was like, what is he going to do to me on this week? And I was like, am I in trouble? Where am I going with all this? And so you also had some fun putting me on the spot as far as role playing and saying, hey, there's some things going on in the agency. Let's dissect this too while we're all together, which I thought was great. So what's your big takeaway, Josh?
Big takeaway, if you're in this industry and you don't have serious systems in place to focus on retention, this is a no-brainer. I think the biggest recommendation I would make is don't look at this as an investment for even just this year. Look at this as like a 5-year investment for the growth of your agency. You'll have new challenges in 5 years, but if you don't ever focus on why customers leave you, you can't really uncover what it is in your system or organization that keeps you from being, as Kelly would say, ridiculously amazing. We have never wanted to be status quo, but the simple button is just to focus on sales, hire producers, and that model is so archaic in so many ways because there hasn't been this really microscope put on the book. And there are carriers out there that do an exceptional job with retention for sure. But for us, we knew going into this world as an independent agency that retention was going to be a huge focus. So I guess even I'd speak to, the captive agents that just switched with Nationwide and went independent. I mean, this is a no-brainer. The investment was well worth it. And the relationship that we built with Kelly, I promise you're not going to find other consultants that you can text and say, hey, what are your thoughts about this? Kelly seems to have a blog post or an article for everything she's ever spoken or uttered.
Gosh, I have a post for you on that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about cancellation? I don't know. Here's a link. Read it. Okay.
Here's a link. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but she's the best in regards to that. Mm-hmm. But just make the investment. Do it. It'll be worth it. And if you're not willing to do that, then give us a call and maybe we can acquire you.
I was going to say, and just so everybody knows, these two are not paid guests. So,
no, we're not.
Just want to say that out there. Well, thank you guys so much. Excited for your graduation tomorrow and continue.
Yeah, for sure.
And for all those of you out there looking to be ridiculously amazing, I definitely follow these guys because they're going places. And I'm just excited that, more new blood outside of the insurance space is coming in. So Emily, thank you for being so forward thinking of not saying we just got to go find the person with 90 years insurance experience.
Right. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kelly, so much for having us.
Kelly.
We'll see ya.
Hey everyone. So I swear I did not pay Josh and Emily any money to give us that glowing recommendation. We just had a blast with their team and they were open and coachable and we went through the hard stuff together. And if renewal review calls are on your mind, because it does save time, it's literally the penicillin for agencies. You'll get contact information. You'll have a vehicle to connect. Your team's going to hear thank you. It reduces remarketing. It gives them a way to cross-sell and improve coverage and bring people to agency standards. If you're at all interested, we actually have a couple ways that we can help you with this. First of all, you can buy it right now on our online tool. Get started tonight if you want to. Just go to our online store or shop, look for the agency performance pack, and for $245 a month, you get all of our trainings and you can get going right then and there. That's right. All of it's been recorded just for you. Or if you're interested, we have more in-depth programs like Emily and Josh went through, where we're literally holding your hand. We recommend you reach out to us to talk about that a little bit more. But here's the bottom line. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you don't have a plan, you're not sure where to go, you know your team's lacking confidence, let's do something, right? Let's get it going, and I couldn't thank them more enough for that wonderful glowing recommendation. But now the ball's in your court. You know about it, so it's time to take action. Check out our website, reach out to us on social media or on a contact form, and we'll be happy to talk to you about how it all works. Well, what did you think of that podcast? Does it not make you want to just go out and be inspired and really invest in your team? Because it does me. But here's the thing. They went out and they found their problems and they kept their solutions going. And all the reasons why you think that working with your team isn't going to work, they blasted through. They don't have time. They work through that. My team won't buy in. They found the right person. I mean, me, so of course. But other than that, if I'm not the right person, it's okay. Still invest in your team. But they have a vision and they're on path to succeed and get there. And that's what we want for every agency. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure you like it on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review on Google, or go ahead and even like us on YouTube if you're watching this. This is what we're here to do, is to show agencies their potential. And when it happens, it's absolutely magical. We hope that you've enjoyed this podcast, and we hope that you write in if you have any questions. We'll see you soon.